Lucky for you, that's what I like. That's what I like. It's Stryker of Enyo. This is Stryker's Perspective, also known as Jason Complains About Stuff. Well, not really. I give you my opinion on stuff. But this is this week, and although these don't necessarily get released every week, but I do a Stryker's Perspective. I said doo-doo. I do a Stryker's Perspective about every 5 episodes or so. So it's not necessarily every week. That's a lot of episodes to be making. I'll be making 50 of these a year, and I don't want to do more and more episodes. But anyway, this week we are talking about our Breakable Weapons cheap game design, and this is coming fresh off the rumor mills of, well, not really rumors, because I mean Zelda Breath of the Wild is out, and people are complaining about the breakable weapons. And why can't I use it more than 5 or 6 hits before some of these weapons end up breaking? I'm not sure if it's really that low of a number, but people are upset. And so basically, yeah, we're going to talk about, is it cheap game design to have breakable weapons or to put durability in your game? But first, we are going to answer just a few kind of mentions that you guys have been making about last week's video, which was, should I create a YouTube channel? And in that, for the faint of heart, I basically told you, no, don't do it, because you're going to start with 0 subscribers. You're not going to have any kind of clout. You're going to be upset because you're pumping out video after video and you're getting literally single-digit views. You might get a handful of subscribers, but it's going to take you forever, even just to get 5 subscribers or maybe 10. You know, you're talking about maybe a subscriber a week or something. And it's just, you know, people aren't going to be commenting on your stuff. It's just, if that's what you're looking for, making a YouTube channel, I just say don't do it. But then I continued on with the video that, you know, if that doesn't dismay you and you think you really do have the talent and you think you're funny and you got some skill, then by all means, please go ahead and do it, because we can always use good quality YouTubers, I really believe, because I still run into a dozen videos of people giving out tips and strategy videos that are only text, and it's small text, and you can't really read that on your phone. And like I said, if you really feel like you can bring something to the table and do it differently, then by all means do it. If you want to be the next angry video game nerd, if you want to be the next JonTron, if you want to be the next Jim Sterling or Kadikarus, or Peanut Butter Gamer, then don't do it. Don't do it for the fame or the money, but do it because it's something that you really want to do. But yeah, so here we go. This is basically durability, a cheap game design in modern games. So, is durability bad? Is having weapons that are breakable, is that a sign of really cheap game design? No. Lots of games have been using this over the years, and that's my final answer. There we go. Peace out.
Now the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you?
Brought to you by Call of Duty Advanced War. Yeah, we'll probably get sued for mentioning that. That's not right. And Deep Ball Aftershave. Why? Because you can't say balls deep. That's really the reason. Thanks for watching. Takes different strokes to move the world. What? You guys are still here? You kind of figured that in a 15-minute video, I wasn't going to end it after the first 4 minutes. Okay, well, so this is weapon durability, and is it cheap? Well, you already heard my answer, because quite honestly, video games have been using weapon durability, or, you know, that's what they call it, or breakable weapons, for a long time. We're talking about Diablo 2, even World of Warcraft uses it in some regards. System Shock. A lot of games have been using it even after 2000. And so weapon durability isn't a new thing, and in fact, you could link weapon durability even to food. Hunger bars, hunger meters, hunger needing, barbarian needs food badly. I mean, well, that's actually for health, but But you know what I mean. So there have been some games that have implemented some kind of weapon durability or some kind of food or sleep bar for actually a long time, for decades. Or the early... Shoot, I can't remember if Wizardry did that or not. But there have been other games that have done that, where you actually need to be watching your food bar. You need to be watching... the durability or weapons and whatnot. And obviously a lot of big games have also done this, like Far Cry 3, I meant anything that Bethesda pretty much does. Like Fallout 3. Fallout 3 had weapon durability. And if I was actually good at what I do, instead of showing you footage of me losing my balls in the snow and steep, I should be showing you footage of Fallout 3, but I didn't have a chance to record the game footage for it, so sorry about that. That is something that I could still have done. But as you know, like I said, there's weapon durability in that game. You could have like 5 different hunting rifles, and if they were all at like 17% condition, you could actually combine them all together to give yourself a rifle that may or may not be above like 50% durability, or at least the durability would be a lot better than to use those 4 or 5 separate rifles at only 17% durability each until they would end up breaking or not being able to be used. But Fallout 4, on the other hand, I'm still showing you footage of Steve. Like, this guy's a fucking asshole. No, I mean, it's not that. I'm trying to use up footage, and I recorded so much for Ghost Recon. I'm trying to, and literally I do have some moments of Ghost Recon still, but I'm just trying to use it up. So sorry about that. I do have those 2 games. I could have recorded footage for them, but for Xbox One, you end up filling up your game DVR in a sense, and I'm trying to get rid of some of these bigger and longer clips. That's what she said, but I mean, it's not. Anyway, sorry about that. Sorry about the swearing. I try not to do that on this, but I've already done it, so whatever. We're moving on. But so breakable weapons is basically. Hang on a sec. Trying to find it. It's often an inconvenience to a lot of gamers, but it's intended to force players to manage their resources carefully. That's essentially what it is. It's basically because given a path of least resistance in gameplay, gamers will typically take that. If you give them a sword or a gun to start off with, and that sword is actually pretty good, and they're starting to run into new enemies, but their original sword is still doing enough damage, there's absolutely no reason why the player will upgrade their weapons. If it takes them an extra hit or 2, and that is the only difference in upgrading to maybe perhaps a new weapon, like, say, the original Legend of Zelda, if the differences between the wooden sword and some of the other swords were only a matter of 1 or 2 hits, most players probably wouldn't even go to the bother of upgrading their swords, because it's 1 extra hit. I'll just hit the A button or the B button 1 extra time, and that'll make up for the damage, and then I don't have to go through the problem of doing that side quest or doing what's required. And so yeah, given people will use the same weapon throughout the entire game, is that good game design or is it bad game design? Now that's kind of a different. Well, it is the same subject, but some game designers are trying to make you use other weapons, kind of like in Zelda Breath of the Wild. They want you. There's probably no reason why your average player would pick up a massive 2-handed broadsword or an axe or a mallet. They probably would never use that during their entire playthrough unless you force them to do it. And you know what? Some people might actually kind of like using a big battle axe in Zelda. You normally would never, ever be able to do that before. And I think you were actually able to grab certain weapons of enemies in Wind Waker, if I remember right. It's been a long time since I was playing through that game. I think you could pick up it, or was that just for picking up a stick and then lighting it on fire and doing some puzzles? It's been a long time since I played that. But yeah, so some game developers, they want you to force you. And you know what? In the realm of Fallout 3, I never saw it as an inconvenience. It was just a thing to do. But don't get me wrong, when Fallout 4 came out, and there was so much more stuff to do, and they still had, what was it? What do they call it? Their ultimate mode, where you can basically make it extremely realistic, where you need to be constantly worrying about your radiation and your water levels and your hunger and stuff. You know, I believe they still had a mode where you could do that. And it was actually kind of nice to not have to worry about weapon durability, because they had all the other scrap metal and all the other things that you could pick up and combine in order to build your home base. So it was actually very understandable that you wouldn't also have weapon durability, because that could kind of, you know, bring everything down. Or that might have been just too much. You know, they might have actually had that implemented at one point, or they might have just realized that, no, we've got enough on our plates, where we got enough content for the gamer. We got enough, you know, little things like copper wiring and wood and stuff they need to be worrying about, that they don't need to be worrying about the other kind of stuff. But yeah, there's other games have been using, like No Man's Sky, the Divinity, Dark Souls 2, Dead Rising 3, Last of Us. A lot of more modern games have had some form of weapon durability. Whether it's you only have a limited amount of uses for an item, or the item is eventually going to break after a certain amount of time. Typically, it's uses. But it's basically applied arbitrarily to specific items within the game, or to every item, and typically it's a trait that's often used on armor and weapons, and sometimes wearable clothing that plays an active role in defense when it comes to combat. That's kind of where this is used a lot. So yeah, there's been a lot of games have been using this. I think the Ultima series, even way back in the day, in the 80s and whatnot, you know, had some form of this. I might be wrong. I never did play Ultima on computer. I played the bastardized Super Nintendo versions and NES versions, but yeah. So breakable weapons have been around for a long time. In Breath of the Wild, do I think using a weapon like 5 or 7 times that it should break? I don't know, but I think they're trying to give you a sense of, hey, you know, you really should be using the crafting system in order to make yourself a weapon that is infinitely more durable than just picking up random monster weapons. I think that is kind of the point of it. So typically the game designers are thinking of ways to make things interesting. You know, not necessarily realistic, because obviously a blunt sword is going to continuously do less and less damage, you know, but it's never going to break, you know, even when a sword is made out of bad steel, or bad, maybe not even steel, but just a bad metal. It's going to bend horribly before it's ever going to break. You could beat people with a sheet of metal, essentially, but so that's kind of what it is. When good game designers, you know, figure out ways of doing it, like I said, like Fallout 3 and like Dark Souls, when the worlds are created in that kind of way where it makes sense and it doesn't seem as big of a hindrance. But yeah, I can clearly understand that for Zelda, it's probably because they really want to push the player to the point where, hey, you know, you should be making, you know, your own weapons. And you could argue whether that's actually good game design or not, you know, if the player, you know, the starting weapon for a player, if you give them a stick, you know, that they should never be able to upgrade that stick to be just as powerful as a master sword, right? Or else the player will probably just upgrade that stupid stick. If it takes them 3 extra hits on a boss to kill them, that's one thing. But if it takes them 20 extra hits on a boss to kill them, even with their upgraded stick, yeah, you know, it's just a way of forcing the player into using different methods and to not just keep the same inventory throughout the entire game. So that's kind of my feelings on it. I think when it's done right with the right developers, it's actually beneficial and it's kind of neat. Otherwise, some games, they shouldn't have it.